everybody. I'm Alyssa from Meditative Astrology, and I'm here to talk to you about the astrology of the first week of June, looking at June 1st through June 7th. We have a few things going on here this week. There's a week of flowing ability, expansion, contraction, all happening at the same time. So we're going to talk about all of that. Before we do, reminder to like, follow, subscribe, so that way you don't miss anything that we have going on here, the weekly videos, as well as the live meditations we have Sunday nights. So we start out the beginning of this week, Sunday, June 1st, with the moon starting out in the sign of Leo, and then it moves into the sign of Virgo in the evening. No exact aspects happening for the first couple days of the week this week, actually. So we start out just by following the moon around, starting out in Leo, making its way to Virgo, a couple aspects in the middle there, and then that will take us to Monday, June 2nd. That Virgo moon will see us through the full day on Monday there, coming through the first quarter moon phase. And that Virgo moon will take us right into Tuesday, June 3rd. We get a square from Mercury from the moon there. And then other than that, we don't really have anything else that is exact coming through here. So really the action doesn't start until we get until Wednesday. So that Virgo moon takes us right into Wednesday, and then the moon will move into the sign of Libra around 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So really the moon will be in the sign of Libra for most of the day on Wednesday. We also get our first exact aspect this week on Wednesday. We have Venus making a sextile to Jupiter. They're both sitting at 28 degrees of their sign, Jupiter at 28 Gemini and Venus at 28 Aries. Both of these planets are getting ready to move into new signs. So they're both in this transitional point here as they are at the very end of the sign that they are currently in. If we focus in on Venus, her retrograde has been over for quite some time. We talked about that a lot earlier this year. But this is the week where Venus is finally going to move into a new sign. So she's been in the sign of Aries for what feels like forever with the retrograde period. So later on this week, she's finally going to move into the sign of Taurus here. So I really see this as a helpful send-off for both of these planets. We have the two benefics coming into contact with each other, the two most positive planets based on their own significations and what they represent on their own without being in any other signs or placements. So really these two planets are helping each other out here. We have Venus asking Jupiter for some sort of helpful information. Jupiter's in the sign of Gemini. So what kind of words or ideas can help her move forward on her path here? This is a subtle but helpful energy of things working out and flowing very well. The sextiles, they can be easy to miss until afterwards, and it can be one of those days where you just notice that things are flowing really, really well. Making note that Libra is Venus's sign, so that's where the moon is going to be this day. So that is just an extra nod at Venusian energy there. So the ability to speak well or to portray ideas, Venus is still strong, courageous, and bold in the sign of Aries. She's still there. There's lots of creativity. There's lots of passion in Aries. It's very, very strong energy. And then you match that with the intellectual capacity of Gemini. And then you have Jupiter there that is looking at lots of little details of big ideas. So how can we take something small and how can we look at the bigger picture of it instead of just dialing in just on the small little details here. So there could be lots of ideas, lots of curiosity, and lots of exploration in the sign of Gemini. And then when you have Venus making that interaction with Jupiter, you have the bold, courageous energy to be able to explore those ideas and maybe look at things that you wouldn't necessarily look at all the time. So this can be very subtly motivating, but things working out really, really well. Or, something helpful just kind of pops in a light, bouncy, and helpful type way. Both of these planets currently are in signs that are considered to not be all of that great for them. Venus in the sign of Aries is in detriment, and so same thing with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. So traditionally they're considered to not be in great places. That doesn't mean that there's not good things that we can't get from these planets in these placements, but they're just in signs that are a little contrary to what they typically like to bring out, or the things that they are typically in search of. So these two planets coming together at the tail end of their journey through these somewhat more difficult signs for the planets to be in some places, and then coming together just beforehand. It's like the two of them are coming together and ushering each other into these new signs, and just tying a nice positive little bow maybe on some of the interactions that these transits have brought here. So nice energy that we have coming through here on Wednesday. That Libra moon that we have on Wednesday is going to take us right into Thursday, June 5th, where we have a couple aspects happening this day as well. We have Mercury making a square to both the north and the south node. Anytime you have a planet that is in a square position to one of the nodes, you can automatically think that it's going to be in a square to the other one. What is the difference is whether it's at the north bending of the nodes or the south bending of the nodes, and that's which node that planet is going to tend towards within its interaction. So anytime you have a planet at the squaring both of the nodes, it can be a point of a struggle. With this being Mercury, it could be a mental or communicative struggle of some kind, something to do with information or communicating with yourself or with others in some sort of way. The north node is what pulls us forward or what increases things that we feel pulled and guided towards, and the south node pulls us back towards comfort. This is a place of release. This is a place of resting, relaxing, and a place of decrease. So the north node pulls us towards, the south node is something that we kind of pull away from, but we kind of get pulled back towards too. There's a push and a pull between the nodes. So it's related to the eclipse points. Both the nodes of the moon are what give us our eclipses when we have new and full moons within a certain degree of those. So anytime you have a planet squaring the nodes, we could bring up the themes related to the current eclipses. So looking at the Virgo Pisces axis within your chart, what houses those fall in, that could give you a little bit of an idea or a picture of what's going on here. So there could be a little bit of a challenge. However, Mercury is in a good position here. Mercury is in its own sign, and in its own sign of Gemini, it's in a good position to be able to problem solve, to explore, and to gain some sort of perspective. Based on events and things that are going on. We may be able to shift our perspective related to the circumstances, and Mercury is a planet of adaptability, of change, and being able to fluctuate and kind of move between things. Both of Mercury's signs, Virgo and Gemini, are both mutable signs, both changeable signs. So there's this changeable quality to Mercury within its own right. So maybe there's a little bit of adaptability to this quick transit that comes through. So if there is some sort of difficulty or struggle that comes up, maybe we are able to problem solve or find a way to work through that issue in a mercurial type way. I mentioned that there's either the north bending or the south bending of the nodes. This is within the north bending, so that means that the square for Mercury tends towards the north node. So it's looking towards those things that pull us towards it. There's this motivating pull towards the Pisces north node here with the square to Mercury. So Mercury looking at any problems and challenges based on the path that we are going towards. What is pulling you right now, and what do you feel called towards? What do you feel is calling you? What kind of issues, what kind of communication or informational struggles are there? Are there any mental blockages that are holding you back? Is there anything that you need to say, that you need to get off your chest, or is there some sort of conversation that you need to have with somebody else, or is there a conversation that somebody is trying to have with you? These are types of things that can come up when Mercury is square the nodes here. Again, themes of the eclipses possibly coming up here, and with the north node in the sign of Pisces, and Saturn recently departed from the sign of Pisces, with this pull towards the north node, it could feel like we're able to maybe find ways to come beyond the challenges. Maybe there's like a little bit of a weight that has been lifted in that house with Saturn moving on to the sign of Aries. So aid in the ability to problem solve and to be able to overcome whatever challenges are in front of us here. And at the same time, Mercury is making a sextile to Mars. So Mercury interacting with both the nodes and Mars at the same time. Mars, just like Mercury, is quick moving, it's changeable and adaptable, and it's not necessarily static and hold still. So this just adds to that agility and the versatility of this day. Mercury's in the superior position, so that means that Mercury has a little bit more say-so in the interaction. Compared to Mars here, or it's like Mercury is asking something of Mars here. So Mercury looking towards Mars to bring some sort of momentum, some sort of creative passion here. Mars is in the sign of Leo, the place of the sun. So what creative drives and what motivations and what actions can we take to bring forward whatever Mercury is working towards, whatever that north node pull is towards you, whatever's going on within your mind at the time here, what actions can you take at the same time here? Mercury in the sign of Gemini wants helpful processes. It wants to be able to bring in information, lots of different ideas, and be able to understand them all, lots of little details, and be able to pull them apart. Mars in the sign of Leo acts from the heart. It's very individualistic. It's the place of the sun. So there's an illumination of solar things and of one specific thing in the sign of Leo. So looking at how you can have what actions can you take to have your light shine in some sort of way? Is there somebody else that you can help them let their light shine, and therefore in return it will kind of illuminate your own light in a way by helping them? There's lots of illumination in the sign of Leo. It's very independent, very self-reliant, and it can be very independent, very self-reliant, very positive. So hopefully this translates into I can overcome type of day here. If there's any challenges that pop up, we can have the energy to be able to move forward here. So today, wondering what kind of plan can you create and how can you follow through on it? What actions can you take? The future that you are looking towards, or whatever is pulling at you right now, whether or not it's the future that we should be going towards or not, that's up for debate always. But what mental and physical energy can you bring into the process today? Where can you bring forward a momentum to see whatever the process is that you have in front of you and bring that through to its entirety? There's a mix of struggle, challenge, and being able to overcome here today. Some subtle and some loud energy here coming through Thursday. That Libra moon that we have on Thursday, it's going to take us right into Friday. The moon will ingress into the sign of Scorpio later on in the day, and this is where Venus moves into the sign of Taurus. So like we mentioned earlier on in the video, Venus has been in Aries for a long time. It had an extra little stint in the sign of Pisces, but really there has been so much time in the sign of Aries for Venus, and in a place where that can be a little bit more difficult for Venus, it could be very exhausting for many people. Good things can come from Venus in the sign of Aries. There's lots of strong and courageous energy there, but it can also be very exhausting having Venus in a place that can be full of strife and individualism and just going out and blazing a new trail of some kind, when really Venus is looking for pleasure. She's looking for comfort. She's looking for cohesion. She's not looking for separation. So for many people, this could have been a little bit of a difficult place. Venus wants pleasure, comfort, and good vibes. She doesn't necessarily want war like Aries may want or be willing to. So if symbolically speaking, with Venus in the sign of Aries, it feels like you've been at war in some way, hopefully Venus moving into the sign of Taurus is going to bring you some sort of ease and some sort of comfort here. We have this until early July, so we have about a month of Venus in the sign of Taurus. So look at the house where Taurus falls within your own chart. That's where Venus is going to be, and she's going to be bringing some cohesion and hopefully some blessings along with her here. You know, there are earthly pleasures in the sign of Taurus. So how can you create a space of joy? How can you create a space of harmony and balance within your own physical life while Venus is in the sign of Taurus? We have about a month to take advantage of that. How can you care for your own space, and how can you care for your own body? Taurus is very much related to the physical body. And Venus likes to spend time with others and to create relationships. So how can you commune with friends, and where can you spend time in enjoyable company? What type of things do you like to do? Where do you find pleasure? It's a good time to explore those things and spend a little bit more time in enjoying life here. So often we need reminders to be able to do that. It is interesting to note that as Venus moves into the sign of Taurus, she will be in the same sign as Uranus. So she will make a conjunction to Uranus in a few weeks. We will talk about that closer too, but that Venus-Uranian energy is going to be building. And it's interesting that Venus is going to make that conjunction just days before Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini. So that will be a nice little send-off for Uranus later on this month. So we will talk about that later. And just as Venus moves into the sign of Taurus, she's going to be working her way into a square with Pluto. So that starts applying as soon as she moves into the sign of Taurus. That will come into exact next week. So we will talk about that in next week's video. So come on back and we'll talk about that here together. But just know that that energy is starting to build here. That Scorpio moon that we have at the end of the day on Friday is going to take us right into Saturday, June 7th, where the moon will be in the sign of Scorpio all day, making an opposition to Venus and making a square to Pluto. But we don't have any other exact aspects going on here on Saturday. So we have a bit of a variety. We have a little bit of a mixed bag. That's most weeks. But we do have some nice flowing energy coming through here, and the ability to overcome, the ability to come into a place of ease. If Venus in Aries has been a little bit difficult, we have some helpful sextiles along the way, even in midst of Mercury making squares to the nodes. Squares are not always, terrible aspects, but they do challenge us to move a little bit different, or see a different perspective, or just shift our mindset in some way. So they challenge us just enough to be able to make us uncomfortable. So that way we have to move, or we have to change or shift a little bit of a way. So that is the astrology of the first week of June. I look forward to seeing you back here next week as we talk about the second week. Reminder that we have live meditations Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and on Facebook. So on Fridays, there's an intention that is released on the Facebook and Instagram pages. On Saturday, we have the weekly video that comes out. And then on Sunday, we have a live meditation that is based off of the astrology of the week. So real good setup through the weekend here to get ready for the upcoming week. And if you missed the live meditation, you can always catch the replays on YouTube on the live tab. So we will see you at meditation, and I will see you back here again next week. I hope everybody has a great week.